Now, some of you might know me as the PC Bangsawan, but did you know that I'm actually a gearhead when it comes to camera and lighting equipment? Which is why when Nanlite hit me up to check out their Marhan range FS300, which is an affordable 300 watt light, I instantly lit up and said yes! Let's see if this light from Nanlite is actually going to brighten up your life and land you more jobs, or is it gonna be just another cheap turn off? Let's get cracking. Okay, so Nanlite, or previously known as Nanguang, has been around for quite some time. In fact, we checked out one of their older products when we first started Mobhouse a long time ago, which you can check out here. Since then, I've noticed that they have come quite a long way when it comes to adding features as well as improving their build quality. Recently, they've introduced a new lineup of affordable lights, namely the FS series, and they are the FS150, 200 and FS300. The FS300 is priced at 1499 ringgit or $349 while the FS200 and FS150 will set you back 1249 ringgit or $279 or 899 ringgit and $199 respectively. The FS300's build quality is actually surprisingly good. It is mostly plastic with a carbon fiber looking finish on both sides except for the honeycomb vents on the top and bottom, as well as the mounting hardware, which is metal. The mounting yokes can be locked with knobs on both sides with rosette style teeth, while the base where it mounts to light stands have a spring-loaded knob to prevent it from being accidentally loosened. They are definitely not as well built as the Forza series, which I actually own the Forza 60 and even my Aperture 120D Mark II, but it's definitely a huge step up from other lights in this price point that I have worked with. To be honest, I really miss the carrying case that came with the Forza lights, but I do understand that they needed to keep the cost down. The box that came with the FS300 can be reused if you need to bring it around anywhere during shoots or whatsoever. And one thing that you need to keep in mind is that comparable lights from competitors at this price point mostly don't come with a bag either. And one potential benefit with the design of this light's chassis being square is that you can actually stack them up on your shelf much more easily when you're not using them. It weighs 2.9 kilograms, which is 600 grams heavier than the Forza 300, and I think that that's probably because the FS300's power supply is actually built into the fixture itself. At the back of the light, you'll find a screen with two knobs, a USB port for firmware upgrades, a 3-pin power cable socket, and the on-off switch. The controls are pretty simple, with the left dial controlling the light output in increments of 1%, and it also comes with 11 built-in special effects with customizable speed and intensity, which makes them a lot more useful in the real world. The FS300 will work with the existing Nanlink remote control and also the app, which is still not here yet. And while the remote control is fine, it's a little bit of a hassle to toggle between the different channels because you actually have to click on one button that moves and switches between all 12 channels one by one. And this can be a huge problem if you have a lot of lights paired with different channels. So Nanlite, please release your app as soon as possible. This is just 2010 and I'm an uncle. In terms of specs, all three of these lights actually have a wattage that is higher than their name would suggest, and also the max brightness between the FS150 and FS200 is actually quite close. You will see a huge jump moving from the FS200 to the FS300, and they all come with a color temperature of 5600 Kelvin and a CRI of 96. In the past, we've found that Nanlite products to be quite true to their claim when it comes to color accuracy in terms of CRI and also the color temperature, but I don't have a color or light meter to give you actual numbers, but hopefully that's going to change in the future. Checking the white balance with our A7S III and the X-Rite Passport color checker found the white balance of the light to be almost as advertised, with a slight magenta shift, which is easily compensated for, but do pay that in mind if you're mixing lights. But one thing that's for sure is that LED lights tend to shift towards green as they age, so that could actually correct itself over time. One more thing that you should do is take the max rated brightness with a grain of salt, because that's measured with the reflector. Now most of us will be using it with some sort of modifier like the softbox or even like a lantern. In this case I'm using a softbox, so that's what it looks like. While the softbox will reduce the intensity of the light quite a bit, I'm actually using it only at 1%, and this is what happens when I crank it up to 100. I do recommend that you check out YouTuber NewLayer for more scientific tests, because he actually took the time to create a database of lights on his website right here. JT Shaver from NewLayer actually measured brightness of about 2 stops lower when you remove the included reflector. Now for what it's worth, the FS300 is actually a lot cheaper than other 300 watt-ish options on the market. The only minor drawback when it comes to the light itself is that the fact that the FS300 have an array of multiple tiny LEDs as compared to a traditional COB where you're gonna have a single light source. If you use the light naked without modifiers or with the included reflector, you'll notice some weird stripes or checkered patterns on the edges of the shadows, but that shouldn't be much of an issue since most of us will be using the light with some sort of modifier in 90% of shoots. Now it all seems like rainbows and butterflies thus far when it comes to this light, but there surely are going to be some sort of cutbacks when making a light this powerful, this affordable, right? Yes, 100%. Because I find this light pretty loud during operation. I'm using a lavalier mic right now. For a setup like this, I like to have the light as close to my face as possible for the biggest light source and also the softer shadows. So the light is actually quite close to the boom mic if I do use a boom mic right here. Now I'm going to show you how this light sounds in a set like this. Now the camera is right here and the light is all the way up here about 1 meter away from the off axis of the boom mic that will usually be here or maybe higher. Okay, I'm going to push up the volume quite a bit so you can see the sound signature of the noise itself. For the actual volume and intensity of the noise itself, just look at the numbers. The annoying thing about the FS300 is that the fact that no matter if you're using it at an intensity of 1% like this or crank it up to the 100%, the fans are gonna kick in full throttle 100%. So I think that should be an easy fix with some sort of firmware upgrade where they introduce a silent mode and let the fans only kick in when you crank up the intensity past a certain point, but there's no guarantee, so yeah. To be fair, while the noise is definitely audible, it is not the worst thing on the planet, especially if you're using some sort of lav mic like me or doing some sort of denoising in post-production. So there's that. Oh yeah, a little bit of background music won't hurt either. See? Huh? In terms of power options, I actually find the FS300 to be quite in line with its price point, and that's the fact that it doesn't come with a built-in V-mount adapter unlike the Forza 300. Now, if you're somebody who uses the light in a studio setting like me and you leave everything plugged in, that shouldn't be much of an issue, and it could be a blessing because you wouldn't have to be worried about charging all your V-mount batteries every time you want to shoot. But if you're somebody who needs to move the light around, say you do weddings or like outdoors and stuff like that, then it could be a problem for you. Also, the included power cord, while pretty long, is a little bit shorter than I would like, especially when I have the light stand fully extended. So a longer power cord would be appreciated. So what's my bangsawan verdict? To recap, here are the pros, cons, and mehs of the Nanlite FS300. So if you don't need app support, V-mount or super quiet operation because you're not a weirdo whose house don't have aircon or PC making sound one, then this would be the perfect continuous video light for you. And especially because it's 300 watts and it's so #cheap buy at 1,499 ringgit. Come on, there's no better deal out there, just buy, don't need to think. I give the Nanlite FS300 a very #cheap buy and super the solid 8 out of 10. So solid is like when you go toilet and forgot to eat vegetables for a week. Disgusting, eh? Who write on this script? Huh? Me meh? Don't lie. If you thought this video is awesome, you know what to do. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions regarding the FS300 or if you have any other production equipment that you would like us to review on your behalf. I will do it because why? I love you long time.